I'm Andy Mitten and I'm stood outside Old Trafford. It's the morning after the win against Chelsea. I really enjoyed that last night, and I've not been able to say that once this season because it's been a bit of a struggle this season, but it was a top game of football and I'm just relieved that Manchester United won the game. So you're 2-1 up and I'm thinking, just hold out, see the game out, because it was only a week ago in Istanbul. After an hour, I'm sat there. The team are 3-1 up and didn't win the match, but it was good. Loads of support for Erik Ten Hag. Decent atmosphere at Old Trafford. Great to see some former United players as well, people like Patrice Evra. And we had an interview with Erik Ten Hag in United We Stand. I sat down with him for a long time and it went on sale last night. And I was going to talk about that. And then Jess just came up to me. This is Jess.
Hi.
And she has just finished a degree. She's interested in going into sports journalism. She's done a dissertation. She's written a lot about fan culture. She's really into it. And in my first impression of her talking to me was that she knows her stuff. So I also said, because she's doing a week here at Manchester United, right, if you want to go to journalism, why don't you interview me outside the ground right now? So she said yes. So away you go.
Been put on the spot a bit. So how did you go about getting the interview with Erik Ten Hag?
I asked him. I've interviewed almost all the previous United managers for United We Stand.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, it flashed up. It was 7 years to the day since I interviewed Jose Mourinho. And he was having a really tough time when we did that. He'd won 3 out of 11 matches. And when I sat down with Mourinho, he just unloaded. It was brilliant. I didn't even need to ask him a good question. And that season really turned, not just saying because of the interview, but it did. It ended up with United winning a couple of trophies at the end of the season. And I feel that the manager needs backing. I wanted to sit down properly with him, not in a press conference environment. I wanted him to relax and to tell us a bit about him. What's he like as a person? Was he a football fan? I wanted to see a humorous side to him because I've seen that quite a few times. And yeah, they do. They did last night. Love it. Man walking past in a suit singing Manchester United songs. So I asked him and he said yes. They said, if I'm going to do it with you, I need proper time with you.
Yeah.
And
It's
he went,
interesting
right.
that you got an hour with him. I mean, most people only get about 5-10 minutes. Like, what did you find most interesting about him?
You don't get an hour from the start. You've got to get someone talking. You've got to get them to be thinking, I'm enjoying this conversation.
Yeah.
So if I would have gone straight in with questions designed to catch him out, that interview wouldn't have gone beyond 20 minutes. I asked him to tell me about what it was like when he was a kid, when he was a fan, when he was 15 years old. And within 10 minutes, he's telling me about getting chased by Cambo fans, I'm running for my life, and being on a bus when the windows came through. And he reckons that he's been a United fan since he's been 5. What? 5? He went, yeah, maybe 6. Yeah. You've supported Man United since you've been 5, Mr. Ten Hag. It was like, yeah. We were allowed a second team in England, and he was a 20 fan in Holland, but he reckoned Man United were his team. Yeah. And his best friend supported Liverpool. And he said his best friend is now a journalist. And are you a Liverpool fan?
I am a Liverpool fan.
You're a Liverpool fan?
I am a huge Liverpool fan.
I can't believe it. No, this is
Am I not?
you can say what you want. If you support Liverpool, that's absolutely fine. And his mate Leo, who's a journalist, when he got the job here, he sent Erik a book, an official history of Liverpool Football Club. And Erik Ten Hag says, I've not even opened that book. And good for him.
Yeah, good for him. It's good that you relate on that personal level, because you don't really see that humanising side of managers most of the time. Any other good stories you picked up on?
Well, the human side, he's a human. And people sometimes judge him only by results of the football team that he manages. So I was like, what do you do when you relax? What do you do in your free time? What do you think of Manchester? Yeah. And he's like, never really saw it as a city with loads of skyscrapers before, but it's pretty big, isn't it? Yeah. So then we're talking about the skyline of Manchester. I'm asking him about what he does in his free time, but he's a football obsessive. So at one point I say, you spend your free time planning football matches? And no, I do other stuff as well. And he's really integrating into the community around Manchester. He cycles everywhere. Yeah. I get loads of stories of him being spotted in restaurants and just having time for people. And I like that because football clubs are part of the community. And he's got a really good backstory.
Yeah.
You can tell he's a football obsessive.
Yeah.
He's a serious person as well, but there is a humorous side to him. And I saw that in the summer where I made a mess. I asked him the wrong question pre-season in America. I said, "You've just made Bruno Fernandes manager," and he just made him captain. And he went, "What? You try to put me out of a job here?" And the next day, he came up to me, "You got any more good questions for me?" So he's like taking the piss.
Yeah.
But I quite like that.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's correcting me on pronunciations.
Yeah.
I love the fact that United fans really got behind him against Chelsea
Yeah.
and was singing his name when he walked off the pitch, because I think the manager should be the most important person at a football club. Clearly the players are the players, but it should be about the manager.
Yeah.
He's got a really difficult job here.
Yeah. Did you talk much about the future, or was it kind of
Yeah, we did.
Kind
And he's in it for the long run.
Yeah.
He wants to return this club to absolute greatness, being
real.
above a little team called Liverpool Football Club,
Yeah.
winning titles again.
Yeah.
And, you can look at Liverpool and Manchester City, and I'm sure he's got a great respect for Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
But he wants to make this club great again.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting when I said to him, "Did you speak to any other managers who've been here?" No. Why? Because everyone I spoke to would say, "Don't take the job because it's too much of a challenge." And for him, he thrives off that challenge. Listen, there's been times this season when I've been really worried. I've disagreed with his decisions. I thought United were terrible at Newcastle on Saturday. But I still came out of that interview feeling that I wanted him to manage Manchester United quite strongly as well.
Yeah. Have you interviewed any other Manchester United managers before? And if so, like, how does he compare to them? Like, do you see like a different kind of person, like demeanour? What kind of things have you picked up on?
They're all different. I watched David Moyes really struggling and felt like, should I say something to him? And I never did. Just in the way that he dealt with the media, I thought.
Okay.
And then when he left, I did his first interview after leaving. I met him in Preston. And I said, I really felt like I should have said something to you. And he said, "Why didn't you?" And I thought, it's not really my place to do that. And David Moyes had a really difficult 10 months. Good person, good manager. Louis van Gaal, totally different type of personality. Jose Mourinho, again, you don't get to that level by not having good people skills as well as a good skill set to be a manager. It just doesn't happen. Clearly their obsession is football, it's tactics, it's about having a good team of people around them. But you've got to have far more than that to get to that type of level.
Yeah.
I found them all interesting. Football managers, if you have proper time with them, and that's a big problem, is getting time with them because they're so busy.
Yeah.
There's so many demands on their time. But when you actually sit down with them, you can find out what they're really like.
Yeah.
And they do have families, they do have relationships. They're often working away from home. They have like real life first world issues, admittedly, but it's not just about results for them.
Yeah.
And if you can get underneath the skin and find out what they're like as a person, that always interests me.
Did he speak much about like Manchester United fans and like how he feels about them in the different groups?
Yeah, I said the fan culture is different to how it is in Holland. He went, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I went to Ajax Feyenoord and I've never seen a security operation like that in European football. When did you go?" 2006. Yeah, well, that was a difficult time for Dutch football because of this, and Dutch liberal attitudes, the Dutch government. So suddenly the conversation's going in a totally different direction, where he's comparing Dutch football fan culture, and you're into fan culture.
Absolutely, yeah.
To English football fan culture. And that's changed, hasn't it? Because 30 years ago, England was seen as, the leaders in terrorist culture, hooliganism, and now they're not at all.
Yeah.
Now people are looking elsewhere for the ultra culture. So quite interesting to talk to him about the comparisons between English football fan culture and Dutch fan culture. I love watching football in Holland, like the Ajax fans singing Bob Marley. Feyenoord's one of the most atmospheric stadiums in the world, in my opinion. Why not talk about that? It's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. He draws parallels between them. Like, he obviously knows his stuff, and he's an educated man. What other like good stories did you pick up on?
Loads, but I want people to read the interview. I
Yeah.
want people to buy the interview because I put a lot of time into it. Loads of people did buy the mag outside Old Trafford, but we spoke about January, whether new players are going to come in. We spoke about him signing too many players from Holland, which he pushed back on and gave his perspective on. Talked about the strategic review here at Old Trafford and whether that's affecting him and his players. It was just a good, wide-ranging chat.
Yeah.
And it ended up being really timely because he came under a lot of pressure this week.
Yeah. For people who don't have United We Stand, how can they access the interview?
Buy it outside the ground, Bournemouth, Bayern Munich. I realise not everyone's going to those games. You can download the digital edition online. The link will be below this, I'm told. It's on sale in shops. You can subscribe. We make it as accessible as possible. I'm just happy that 34 years after starting United We Stand, people are still buying it and supporting it. Because I think fanzines, not just United We Stand, Red News at Old Trafford as well, are a really important part of fan culture. And not just at Manchester United, at every club.
Yeah.